Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. So there's a lot of fallout from the debate where Warren, and this was kind of great to watch, called out Mayor Pete Buttigieg for having a fundraiser for billionaires at a wine cave. So there's been some fallout. There's been some pushback from the billionaire, the ruling class, right? So this was on MSNBC. I want to show you this. This is what this woman says, defending that it's not fair, we're just too mean on the billionaires, and then listen to what this guy says.
Hate the game, not the player. If the argument is, if you became that rich, you must be some crooked criminal, how are we possibly going to get people, how are we going to get that powerful class to the table to be self-reflective, to say, let's make sure the world doesn't crumble beneath me and make things better? If we're strictly demonizing the super rich, why on earth would they do anything but build a higher wall around their houses?
I don't think that's actually about demonizing. And I think that this is an argument.
Hold on, it's not demonizing.
No, let me explain why. Let me explain why. If you were a man in 1900, you could be a good man or you could be a bad man. But there was no man in 1900 who didn't benefit from the systemic exclusion and persecution of women in every job that those women couldn't compete for. The fact that women couldn't vote for public policies that would be better for half the country, etc.
Amen to that.
There were good men and bad men in that regime, but all of them benefited from an unfair system, right? So the argument there is not that all of those men were crooks or who was not. And I don't want to get into, you know, I have gotten to know through my reporting a lot of billionaires. This is never, and I say this again and again, not a matter of individual morality. This is about an immoral system, and a system that prioritizes having billionaires and letting them keep their billions over health care for everybody, over education that is as good in the south side of Chicago as it is in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's not a question of are billionaires bad people? It's we have made a very weird social decision to allow people to be billionaires before we take care of the public good. And to the point about nefarious or whatever we were arguing about, you know, I think what is undeniably true, if you actually just look at the Forbes list, monopoly is a very big part of many of those stories, right? So we'll take those off. I don't think most Americans actually like monopoly. Fighting for regulations in Washington that allow you to make more than you would make if you didn't have a $50 million lobbying operation, again, that's not free market. That, like, if you're confident about your ability in the free market,
shouldn't matter.
You don't lobby $50 million in Washington.
What? What? What?
Hate the game, not the player. If the argument is, if you became that rich, you must be some
argue for billionaires,
criminal.
MSNBC.
How are we possibly going to get people, how are we going to get that powerful class to the table?
I don't want, that powerful class is never coming to the table. That powerful class, here's what that powerful class needs to understand. That powerful class needs to understand there's more of us than there are of them. That powerful class does not care. That's why they all got mad last night at the wine cave thing and then sent out to their minions on MSNBC, hey, you better right this wrong. This is such a broken system that billionaires even exist. You work hard, you create a business, and it makes a couple $1 million. Good for you. Billionaires, as he said, the only way to become a billionaire is to have a $50 million lobbying outfit that you can spend that money to get laws in your place to where you can go from making $50 million to $1 billion to $2 billion. That's how that works. And don't give me this thing, oh, boo, the billionaires' feelings are getting hurt. Man, every time I drive by a tent city in Los Angeles, the first thing I think about is I hope no one's being mean to the billionaires. Man, when there's a tent city, and literally all over Los Angeles, there'll be a tent city and a building with under construction, new luxury apartments on the way. Yeah, man, I don't want to hurt the billionaires' feelings. The billionaires should be worried that we're going to hunt them down, like in France. That's what the billionaires should be worried about. Look at this. the top 1% now own more than the bottom 80%. This is wrong. And that means that this 1%, 1/10 of a percent, this 0.1%, they can buy influence. That's what they were doing with Pete Buttigieg in that wine cave. That's why it's wrong. Look at this. The bottom 80%, it's unbelievable. Share of American wealth owned by the top 1%, the top 0.1%, and the bottom 80% of Americans. The top 1%, okay. The 0.1% owns more than the bottom 80%. Look at this. They didn't used to own it back in the 50s. Oh, weird. Look, the Gilded Age. Look at that. I don't know what era that was called, but that was right before the Depression. Oh. You want more statistics? World's 26 richest people own as much as the poorest 50% of Oxfam. This is just America. This is the world. 26 people own as much wealth as 3.5, roughly 3.6, 3.7 billion people. And you're telling me that we shouldn't go after the billionaire class? Charity calls for 1% wealth tax, saying it would raise enough to educate every child not in school. And these 26 richest people could give up half of their money and they wouldn't even feel it. Like, you can still take a private jet to go skiing in Aspen. You can still have your island. You can still have all of those things. Now, I don't care if the billionaires get offended at this. Open up your checkbook, billionaire, like Tom Steyer. Instead of spending all that money, you know what you ought to do, Tom Steyer? Instead of spending all that money on campaigning and nonsense, just build homeless shelters for people in California, which has really bad homeless problem, in San Francisco, right? In Los Angeles, in San Diego, really bad homeless problems. When it comes to pace of annual pay increases, the 1% wage grew 138% since 1979, while wages for the bottom grew 15%. You're trying to tell me this is fair? This is America and this is the free market? This was not created by the free market. This was created by billionaires buying politicians. That's what this was. Because if we had a fair system, then the bottom 90% voice would actually be heard. Gee, why doesn't anyone show up? Those people who stay home from the polls, we shame them? Why? Why do you think? They show up and vote. What happens? It doesn't matter. Warren Buffett's annual letter says financial services company Berkshire Hathaway got a $29 billion gift from the new tax code. Boy, that's making America great again, isn't it? Right? So then there's this. So this tweet came out from this was in response to into Jane Lynch, the actress, right? She's this was her tweet. Hello everyone, billionaires in wine caves have as much right to say who gets to be president as waitresses and diners and plumbers in my bathroom. So she's already saying she has plumbers come to her. Class warfare is ugly, E. Warren. Thanks for listening, everybody. 19,000 people like this? You're an idiot. She's defending billionaires. I wonder why she's doing that. Oh, richest actresses. She's worth $10 million. Oh, you know who helped her get the $10 million? Billionaires. The billionaires that own the media companies that hire her. I think she's a funny comedic actress, but she is 1,000 yards out of line with defending the billionaires in wine caves. How tone deaf do you got to be? Jane, let me explain this to you. Billionaires in wine caves are buying influence that your waitresses and your plumbers can't buy. Your plumber can't give $2,700 to Pete Buttigieg like you did. That's probably what he makes in a month. Do you see this? So let's read this again. Billionaires in wine caves have as much right to say who gets to be president as waitresses and diners and plumbers in my bathroom. Class warfare is ugly. Who created the class warfare? Jane? Was it your plumber? Did your plumber have this amazing, awesome life, and the waitress they have this great life, and these benevolent, loving, philanthropic billionaires were making everybody's lives so great, and then the plumbers just started getting ugly? Give me I can't even, my head explodes. And this is part of how the ruling class does this. They use Hollywood actors to think they're fun, they're the funny ones, they're part of your life. This is why I don't want to work in Hollywood, because of this crap. And it keeps getting more likes and retweets. Like what? This is how programmed and propagandized Americans have been, that they'll, yay, support the billionaire. Billionaires have rights. What? Well, actually, Twitter exploded on this. Twitter said, no, Jane, you're wrong. She's worth $10 million. Oh, does she live in a little 2-bedroom condo? Come on. Does she help? What does she pay that plumber? She tip well for the waitress? The people who clean her homes, does she pay them a union wage? Like, cause she works in a union. She's got SAG acting. She works for the SAG after a union. I guarantee it. Those are all union gigs she does, which means her pension's covered, her health care's covered. She's doing fine. She's worth $10 million. So she goes to parties with billionaires that hire her, so she's going to defend them. You see how this works? You see who pays? I always tell you, just follow the money. Just follow the money. She's worth $10 million, so she donates to Pete Buttigieg, who worked for McKinsey, who's a former Navy intelligence officer. He's part of the corporate Democrat ruling class. She's probably just donating because she's openly gay, he's openly gay, yay, identity politics, and then defends billionaires. So Jane, when you wrote this tweet, were you in an Uber X driving by homeless people when you tweeted that? The tent cities in Los Angeles, do you see those? Do you see those? And do you think, oh man, it's not fair how we're talking about billionaires? This is the problem. Billionaires, I can't have a one-on-one dinner conversation with any political candidate running for president because I don't have that kind of money. Now, Bernie and Tulsi don't take corporate money. And those two people seem to actually listen to their constituents. They listen to their donors. Pete Buttigieg doesn't care what I think because I didn't give Pete Buttigieg $2,700. I can't afford that. That's $1,000 over my rent. I can't afford that. And I live in rent control, and the rents are out of control in this city. They're out of control, but you don't care. You make $10 million. What do you care? This is the tone-deaf ruling class. Millionaires paid by billionaires to be their mouthpieces. So we talk about this. All the people on all the corporate media, they all make $5 to $10 million a year. They all make that kind of money. She makes it. And when I say the corporate media, remember now, I'm also talking about entertainment. The same 6 companies own all of show business too. That's who she works for. So how is she, she's got a blue check by her name. She's got hundreds of thousands of people following her. And this is like, class warfare is ugly. Yeah, it's real ugly, Jane. Go look at it. Go look at a tent city. I have one 2 blocks from me. I just saw a new one pop up that I haven't seen it's popped up literally in the last year. That's the class. Yes, it is ugly. It is ugly. One of them, I saw a woman and her child. Jane Lynch, you big women's rights advocate? So you're defending the billionaire class, but you don't care about a homeless woman and her child on the street? Why don't you give up some of your $10 million? Why don't you give them $2,700? Why don't you just put them in a studio apartment that has a kitchen and a bathroom, a studio, just one bed for the mom and the kids. Could you do that, Jane? I bet you could. Don't talk to me about being mean to billionaires when you drive by homeless people and you can do something about it. I can't. I can give them extra food, which is what I do. I don't give them money because they might use it on drugs and alcohol. I give them food. I give them, when I have shoes, I give them that stuff. But I don't have $10 million. I've made over $100,000 2 years out of my life. This year's not one of them. Billionaire candidates spent $15 million on TV ads in California. What if they spent it on housing? Yeah, this is you defending these beautiful billionaires, Jane. $15 million on TV ads, Bloomberg and Steyer. I don't need more billionaires running in this damn race. I don't need them buying any more politicians. Biden has gotten 44 billionaires have donated to his campaign. Buttigieg has only had 38 or 39 billion. Bernie called him out for that. Liz Warren has 6. Bernie had one wife of a billionaire give him $400 and some and he returned the check. Yes, we are absolutely in class warfare, Jane, and you're on the wrong side of it. So I suggest you give up some of your $10 million and help some homeless women on the street. If you're all women's rights, don't help other rich white ladies in Hollywood. Why don't you help a woman of color or just any woman living on the street? Why don't you do that first before you write these stupid offensive tweets defending billionaires? My name's Graham Elwood, and I live in a rent-controlled apartment. And I don't get work in big show business anymore because that's who runs it and that's who do. If you kiss ass, if you kiss the billionaire's ass on Twitter, guess what? You get work. Not saying she's not funny. Jane Lynch is very funny and talented. But that is offensive to me every time I drive by a tent city, and I cannot go more than 3 blocks away from my home without seeing a tent city. That is offensive. That's the ugly side of class warfare. And Jane, you are on the wrong side of it. My name is Graham Elwood. Support my show because I'm sick to death of rich people, especially rich white ladies in Hollywood, screaming the injustice about criticizing billionaires in wine caves don't have the same right as waitresses and plumbers. They already have purchased more rights, and the waitress and the plumber, all they have is one vote in a stupid electoral college system. The billionaire doesn't even, their vote, who cares? They're just buying wins. They're buying politicians. Thanks for watching the show, everybody. Watch me on the road.